Hey, welcome to the podcast. Sit back, relax. Try not to throw nothing at me because you won't hurt my feelings. You'll just hurt your computer. This podcast is brought to you by your host, me, Robert McCune. This podcast isn't going to be covering any lawsuits today. It is, however, going to be covering a topic that, if you're listening to my podcast, you're probably interested in. Yes, I'm going to be talking about guns and gun laws, though. All right, well, let's just jump right in. So, in an interview, New York City Mayor Eric Adams suggested Friday that subway riders not wear headphones or focus on their phones during rides due to crime. In New York City subways on in their transit system? Shocking. In a wide-ranging interview with Fox's 5 Good Day New York, the Democrat leader opened with crime, saying that there's been a 47% spike and increase in subway arrest. Well, geez, I wonder if the communist state of New York gun laws, being that forbids people from any form of weapon carry on the New York transit system, plays any bearing on this uptick in crime. Or maybe it has something to do with our wonderful Biden administration, who will just let any criminal walk through the border just like it's not even there. Everybody's welcome. Just look at how many atrocities take place in gun free zones across the country. It's because criminals know that they're safe from law abiding citizens carrying weapons that they can't fight back. This is why you never see or hear about mass shootings at gun shows. The only mass shooting that would happen there would be everyone turning the bad guy into Swiss cheese. That's basically a tone to suicide. Believe me, the media would be all over that shit. Now, once in a while, some cracked up knucklehead will get the bright idea he or she can just stroll into a gun store and think they can rob it like they would the local corner store. But that never ends well for them. But now, when it comes down to the folks with severe mental illness, in all seriousness, it's hard to say if just having people carrying a gun would be enough of a deterrent. I really do think we definitely have some of these people getting shot. And that's really sad. It is, because the government's failing to provide the necessary treatment or remove the ones that are proven to be violent from society. And look, I don't think it's a good idea to have guns discharged on any transit train or anywhere that people are in very close quarters. And this is coming from someone who has many hours of close combat training. But I don't think it's the right of any government official to take those rights away from the citizens. And I'm pretty sure the Constitution supports that argument. Now, it all comes down to accountability. If a person is acting irresponsible and somebody gets hurt or killed, then I definitely think those people should be held accountable. There's an old adage that there's an attorney attached to every bullet. And I firmly believe that. I think that it's everybody's responsibility to be responsible. And yes, there would be innocent bystanders shot there in a transit train or anybody that's packed in close quarters. It's practically no way around that. If you're packed together in a tight group, bullets pass through people and no doubt would enter another person's body. Now, there are steps you can take to help mitigate the risk here. It would largely depend on the type of ammunition, like low power hollow points, where most of the energy, if not all, would be dumped in the target or person. A slow moving, fast expanding bullet is far less likely to pass through than, let's say, a full metal jacket bullet. Like the New Jersey law that only allows civilians to carry full jacketed bullets, which is an absolutely stupid law, in my opinion. Now, being so close together, like in a transit train, it would be pretty hard to miss the person that's at that distance, basically, because the attacker would be up close and personal in your personal space. People do get violent for just about any little reason for anything anymore. Example, I came across this story where a New York City man was arrested after allegedly fatally stabbing a man who just confronted him over having bad manners. The victim was transported to an area hospital where he was pronounced dead. This is a very unhinged and violent time we all live in, and no laws are going to stop this insanity. Really, none. There's over 30,000 gun laws in this country. Has any one of them stopped any gun violence, or should I say maniac violence using a gun? Not once. And that's 30,000 gun laws. So, hey, let's just make another gun law. That should work. It's only Einstein's very definition of crazy doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different results. And no piece of paper has ever stopped any criminal. Just ask any parent that suffered the loss of their daughter after she got a restraining order against her ex spouse or boyfriend that turned around and killed her. The politicians would say, but there's police everywhere. It's their job. They'll save you. Well, I listen to police scanners from time to time, and I can honestly say I hear calls going out from dispatch like woman called saying her boyfriend is trying to kick in her door and has threatened to kill her in the past. And this call is 45 minutes old. So if the police aren't going to show up for an hour, what does having a law do to help an individual when they need immediate help? Absolutely nothing. If that woman had a gun instead of a cell phone, you wouldn't be reading in the paper the next day that a man violently broke into a woman's home last night and strangled her to death, according to the police report. Now, that article would say something like a man was fatally shot by a homeowner after a violent break in into a homeowner's home. That's the way the story should go every single time until we run out of criminals or they get the idea that it's just plain suicide. Hey, maybe it's me, but I'd rather the bad guy dead and the good guy alive. I don't know about yous, but I can't stand to read or see on the news how a nut job has been let out of prison for the third time and then bludgeoned an 87-year-old woman to death for her Social Security check. I would rather the story went an 87-year-old woman pulled out a large caliber handgun and blew this scumbucket's head off. I'd rather the woman be alive and the recidive mega dead. But that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm weird. Let's do a little fact checking. About a little over a month ago, when New York Governor Kathy Hochul, while supporting her new law that went into effect on September 1st of this year, said that the whole concept that a good guy with a gun will stop bad guys with guns, it doesn't hold up. And the data bears this out. Well, there's been at least 12 instances over the last 2 months across the country, and I'm sure there's more. It's just that the media hasn't covered it. Of armed individuals stopping attacks and crime by firing a gun or just simply displaying it to the suspects. Example: Greg Cope, an 80-year-old liquor store owner in California, told CBS LA in August of stopping an armed robbery. The liquor store owner was one of at least 12 people across the country between August and September who stopped crime by turning the tables on a suspect and opening fire or just simply displaying the firearm. In that same month, a gas station clerk in Washington state shot and killed a man trying to rob him. And at the end of September, another gas station clerk shot dead an armed robber in San Antonio. Additionally, a convenience store clerk in Florida stopped an attempted robbery last month just by displaying his weapon. And a concealed carry permit holder in Chicago ended an apparent armed carjacking in August when he returned fire and left the suspect critically injured at the scene. So now, Philadelphia made similar moves like New York just recently. Mayor Jim Kenney signing an executive order last week banning guns at city recreational facilities such as fields, playgrounds, pools to curb violent crime. So, really, what we have here is this dictator of a mayor just took it upon himself to waive the rights of hundreds of citizens. So much for the Constitution. Philadelphia Mayor Kenney said, "It's unconscionable that anyone would bring a deadly weapon where our children gather to play." You notice a pattern with these Democrats. They always bring up children, they use it as a shield. Hey, dictator mayor, here's an idea. If you really think that way, Why bother law abiding citizens with the stupid laws and ideas like that? And seeing you live in a fantasy world where you're the supreme ruler, just ban criminals from carrying guns in those places. That should keep everyone safe. Seeing criminals always follow the law anyway. These bans actually serve as a magnet for criminals as they know the victims will be defenseless in those areas. In Oregon last month, a homeowner was woken on an early Sunday morning to an intruder and opened fire. The alleged homeowner invader was declared dead at the scene. Now that's what I call gun control. And here's some facts. Data released by a nonprofit organization shows that 34.4% of active shooters were stopped by armed citizens between 2014 and 2021. And yes, I'm aware that's a 7-year period. And 360 active shooter instances were identified by CPRC between 2014 and 2021, with 124 stopped by armed citizens. Now, multiple instances of armed individuals stop potential mass shootings have played out this year. Most notably in Indiana, when a legally armed 22-year-old Elijah Dickin engaged in an active shooter at a mall and was highly praised for preventing more deaths. His actions were nothing short of heroic, Greenwood Police Chief James Eisen said in July of Dickin. He engaged a gunman from quite a distance with a handgun and was very proficient and, in that, very tactically sound. And as he moved to close in on the suspect, he was also motioning for people to exit behind him. You can just see that, like in a movie or something. A cop is motioning for the closing in on the bad guy and motioning for the good people to move out of the way. Yeah, okay, yep, sure. That's exactly what we all need. Fewer people like Mr. Dickin who'll use their guns to protect other people. Well, that's what the Democrats want you to believe, anyways. How can anyone vote for these people that's trying to get them killed is beyond me. I personally think what we all need and we all could benefit from less politicians and more law abiding citizens with guns. Seriously, let's face it, people. Politicians are not going to protect us. We have to protect ourselves. No one else is going to do it. Well, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up here. Click the subscription button if you haven't already done it. Give me the thumbs up and ring my bell so you can get notifications when I put out new content. So stay frosty, my friends, and I'll talk to you when I talk to you.